Hey guys, it's Lauren here. Welcome back, all my fellow plant fanatics. And if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. Today I want to talk about easy care houseplants, low maintenance houseplants, plants for beginners, or plants for the type of individual who doesn't have a lot of time to dote on their plants. They might want that jungle aspect in their home, but don't have a lot of time to take care of them and dote on them. So I'm going to go over some of the easiest plants in my personal collection and, just the basic care needs of those plants, because some of these plants are very easy and their care needs are minimal. So if you want to see those plants, stay tuned. All right, so I want to start off with one of my personal favorite plants, and I feel like it's kind of a staple plant. Almost everyone who enjoys plants has one of these, and I totally understand why, and that is pothos. There are so many variety of pothos. This here is a marble queen pothos, though sometimes I get it confused. I think it might be a snow queen. I think those are two different varieties, and they're very similar, but there are so many varieties. You have the pearls and jade pothos, you have the golden pothos, the Cebu blue pothos, one of my favorites. What else is there? The Manjula pothos, and a lot of people classify certain Scindapsus pictus as pothos, even though they're a different genus in themselves, but very similar care requirements. These you can have in low light, you can have them in medium to bright and direct light, and they do well. Now, even low light plants always do better when they're in higher light, but this was in my bedroom, and my bedroom barely gets any light, and she is growing long and strong. So she's gorgeous and very inexpensive plants, and you can usually find the variety or different variety in big box stores and such. They can be watered with regular tap water. They don't need no special kind of requirements when it comes to that. They don't seem to mind the chlorine and the other minerals and stuff that are infused into our tap water. Very good contender for easy care house plant. The next plant I want to talk about is the ZZ plant. I don't believe that, like some people will say, you cannot kill this plant. I think you can, if you really try, you can kill any plant. However, this thing you can put in the darkest corner and forget to water for the longest time, and it just remains the same. It maintains itself so well. This would be like a perfect plant for someone who travels and is gone for maybe a week, 2 weeks, even up to a month at a time, and this plant would be fine at home. Just water it before you go on vacation, and when you come back in a week or month, it'll still be fine. If you do provide it with bright and direct light, this thing would flourish a lot more so than if you put it in that dark corner. However, if you have one of those spaces in your home that, oh, this plant's grabbing my hair. If you have one of those spaces in your home that you just want to add some greenery to, but you're worried about light conditions, perfect contender, ZZ plant. It doesn't need distilled water or anything. Use your tap water and you're good to go. That easy. The next plant that I want to talk about that is very similar to the ZZ plant in terms of care is snake plants. This is a cast iron plant, very hard to kill. Just don't overwater it. Same for the ZZ. Always err on the side of underwatering. The good thing with snake plants is that there are many varieties, very similar to the pothos. There's so many different varieties of Sansevieria. I'm not going to call it Dracena. I know it's been reclassified, but to me, this is a Sansevieria. Just going to make that clear. But this is the moonshine Sansevieria, very structural, very sculptural. it will survive in low light situations. And back here I have a couple more. This is one of the snake plants I've had the longest. I even have this in a terracotta pot with no drainage. And that's because I rarely water this. This thing probably gets watered less than 12 times a year. Maybe. Maybe not. This thing gets watered maybe once a month. In the wintertime, definitely once a month or later. As we approach onto summer, I might get a few more drinks, but he maintains himself well. They like drought. They like dry soil. So let your sansevierias dry out. And here is, I don't want to ruin anything, a cylindrical, or cylindrica, get it confused, that I just recently repotted this on my channel. Again, oh no, this one does have a drainage hole. This one doesn't. Anyhow, so many different variety. You got bird's nest ones that are miniature and compact, if you're into that. You got the starfish sansevieria, the samurai, bandtail sensation. There's so many different variety. So you have a lot of options for your space. And don't overwater them. They will be all right. The more light, the better for them. However, they are one of those plants you can stick in that smaller, darker space to add some greenery, and they will do well. What's up next? All right, next I want to talk about Singhoniums. Another type of genus that has so much variety. Really any genus does, I suppose. But this is another plant that can do well in both low light, bright and direct light. They're fairly easy to maintain, and this one's quite a grower. If you give it the right conditions, along with the pothos, they will grow quite fast for you. Water it when the soil's dry. Once you get to know your plant, you'll know when it's dry. The pot will feel lighter. These will even tell you when they want to drink. They'll kind of droop a little bit, and you'll know it's time for a drink. Here is another one. Here is my holly Singhonium, and this is my green variegata, my podophyllum, green variegata. There's so many different varieties. Some are more compact than others, and if you have them long enough and they're mature enough, they will start to trail, so they are good hanging plants as well. Just make sure you let them dry out so they don't get root rot, and provide them with a decent amount of light. More light the better, but they can withstand the low light, and they will be easy peasy. Just don't overwater, and make sure you have an airier mix for the soil. Next up on my easy care houseplant list is Hoyas. You cannot have an easy care list of houseplants without mentioning Hoyas. Now, the thing with Hoyas, just do not overwater them. They are very susceptible to root rot. This is a plant you can neglect, and you'll go back to check on it, and there will be growth. And you'll be, how did that happen? I forgot I had that thing. Though you can't really forget if you have a beautiful Hoya like this. This is my Hoya Crimson Princess, and this is one of the faster growing Hoyas that I have in my collection. Almost all the Hoyas that I have in my collection all require the same care, except for my multiflora is a little more sensitive, or not as succulent like as most Hoyas are. You will notice these two will tell you when they need to be watered. Their leaves will start to kind of, I don't know if it'll pick up, but they'll start to wrinkle a little bit, and they'll be more malleable, and you can bend them more easily. And that's when you know they'll need a drink. And also with this, if I don't really, for example here, these little tendrils, can you see it? Kind of matches in with my face. Don't cut these off. The new growth does come from the ends, and that is also where your peduncles or your flowers may be produced within the grooves of the leaves. Little peduncles will grow, which look like stems, so don't cut those things off if they're there and they're not doing anything, because it could be a peduncle. And we want the flowers, right? So, very easy, a lot of variety. I water them about every 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And now that we're coming into summer, it might be a little bit more often, but easy to maintain. Very airy soil. Have an airy mix, a lot of perlite, orchid bark, and your potting medium, your soil. And it should be good because they are epiphytic, so they do like to grow and climb and grow on things, and they like that airier environment, I guess you could say. Next is the peace lily, or spathiphyllum. Now, you can find these plants anywhere. This is a plant that likes water. So you will need to water this more often than the other plants I mentioned thus far, but they're harder to overwater because they like their soil to remain a little bit more moist. This one you can actually tell that it needs a drink. It's kind of pouting a little bit, and give it a good drink of water. These are a little water sensitive. They don't necessarily like tap water. They would probably prefer distilled water, rainwater, or purified. I don't know if you have a filtered water. They can handle low light. You probably would not see blooms out of them if you kept them in a lower situation like I do. This one I keep in a very low lit area and there is no blooms, but that's all right with me. I'm more of a foliage girl anyways. And I do use tap water. If you can tell, the tips are brown, and it could be from underwatering or the tap water, or a combination of the two. However, besides that, very easy. You can put it anywhere in your home. I believe it's an air purifier, along with the snake plants, and probably the rest of them too. Seriously. And these come in different varieties as well. Not as many, not as in abundance as compared to some of the other plants I mentioned, but still they come in different varieties, so you can keep them in your home. And very pretty too. And last, but definitely not least, and one of the more so statement plants that you can get that are very easy is this big guy over here. My Monstera deliciosa. Can you see me? Can you see me? This is my Monstera deliciosa, and this is a bad angle. This is an easy plant. I water this about every 2 weeks. I will water it more now that summer's coming. I put it in my south-facing window, though I have one in a northwest window and it's doing fine, and it really doesn't get much light. It's kind of in a shaded spot, and these leaves get huge and they're easy to propagate. Look at that big aerial root coming in. How cool. Look at that one. How cool is that? So easy, so structural, such a statement plant, and it's really easy to take care of. Water it when it needs it. Make sure, I missed all my plants. I know that probably doesn't do anything. A lot of these plants I mentioned, except for maybe the Sansevieria and maybe the ZZs, they all do like humidity, but even if you don't have that in your home, you're fine. They will still do well for you. And this is actually quite a fast grower. So as long as you have the space, and you eventually want a massive plant, because this one's really not even that big. It looks bigger on camera than it does in person, but when I first started growing this, it was a lot smaller. And look, here's another aerial root trying to form. Not a cat hair on this thing, gross. But yeah, big statement plant, very easy. Wash off the leaves, and you don't have to do that all the time. The maintenance on all these plants can be spread out. Just make sure you're watering, but not overwatering. And if there's some leaves that are dying, cut them back. That actually promotes more growth for your plant. So just make sure every once in a while you're checking for pests, checking for dead foliage, and trim it back, prune your plant, and it will show out for you in the long run. So, where this thing takes me out, that's it for this video. I hope you found it fun and informative to at least some extent. And if you're new here and you made it to the end, thank you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more plant business. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. See you later.